The idea of creating a home for children was first discussed in 1848. Mrs. Horatia Robinson and Mrs. Harriet T. Pitney came together to establish the Cayuga Asylum for Destitute Children. Mrs. Harriet Robinson, Mrs. Maria Reed, Mrs. John Shidell, and Mrs. Orlean Conklin assisted Mrs. Pitney and Mrs. Robinson and rented a small wooden house on James Street in Auburn, New York. According to the interpretation of institutional care at the time, the Cayuga Asylum for Destitute Children was unusual. It was one of the first homes of its kind to be built with the specific purpose of caring for children. Other institutions cared for whole families. No principles or practices of casework existed at the time. The aim was simply to fulfill the basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. The orphanage's numbers of admitted children began to show as the children's basic needs were being met. We quickly outgrew the James Street location and relocated to Owasco Street in 1855. 3 years after being incorporated by the state legislature on May 10, 1852 as the Cayuga Asylum for Destitute Children. By 1855, the unpleasant sounding name was informally replaced with the Cayuga Home for Children. However, it took until 1913 for the name to be legally changed. The institution published a periodical named The Orphans Friend. The first copy appeared in February 1858, and it was in publication until 1894. The institution found this to be a valuable means of communication with the general public. 10 copies of The Orphans Friend cost $5 annually. A single issue was $1. This publication gave a complete history of everyday life at the home, including the changes in the number of children admitted. Interestingly, the November issue of 1867 contained a particular article entitled Foreign Correspondence. The author, writing to the Orphans Friend readers, was on board the ship Quaker City, whose passengers included Mark Twain. This journey and experiences abroad led Twain to write The Innocents Abroad. To be legally admitted into the Cayuga Home for Children, every parent or guardian must have signed a written statement saying they have consented to have the child given to the home. Through admission records, the general trend shows that children who were neglected and abandoned were admitted. It was clear that the institution was moving away from the orphan and half-orphaned category in which it was initially built.